to also show one tie I neglected to show. This is signature tie, which is very popular late 40s, early 50s. And you could say, oh, that's a pretty decent design. It's hand painted. But the good thing about this is, the secret thing about this is, when you go and turn it sideways, it says Harold D. Smith. So basically what they would do is they would go ahead, take the signature, and then do its mirror image on the bottom. You got that, John?
I'm getting a close-up of it right now. I'm hoping it'll come
And again, you'd see these advertised in magazines and newspapers. And they'd say, go ahead, send in your name, we'll do a hand-painted tie with this design, with the signature design, and it would be something like $4, which in the late 40s, $4 would be now probably about $45 at least. Okay, so they were very popular. This feels like it's rayon, again, another popular fabric of the time. You've got a tie, very, very nice hand-painted tie, just picked up recently. It shows a church building somewhere, I suppose, on the East Coast.
Winter snow scene?
Yeah, winter snow scene. Thank you very much. And it feels maybe acrylic. I'm guessing probably around 1953, 54. And you can see already that the width has decreased. And that's what happened when the Mr. T look came out. The Mr. T look was put out basically by Esquire and Apparel Arts magazine around 1952. And that's when they decided that men's ties, men's lapels, men's hat brims were a little too, wide. They wanted to narrow them, as well as also narrow trouser legs, take out the superfluous padding in the shoulders. So this is a great church winter scene right here. So yeah, basically in the mid-50s ties got thinner. What was also popular in the mid-50s were the square bottom ties. This is probably late 50s. It's pure silk. It's from the Manhattan Shirt Company. Manhattan was a pretty well-known company at that time. It is slip-stitched by hand. And let's say this is about maybe 1955, 56. And again, it would have cost probably about $253. Another nice square bottom, no label. It's got a pretty nice design to it. Again, we're talking probably maybe late 50s. It feels like maybe rayon acetate. But these were very popular at the time. And very often you see square bottom ties by a rooster. Here's another one. This was styled exclusively for Kaufman's of Denver. It is 100% silk. It's got some nice bronze, silver, dark gray, black. And this is something that, again, you could wear at the office at that time and kind of get away with it. As Justin mentioned, the mid-50s, early 60s were noted for their muted type of designs. Minimalist, we would call them. But I think it's a pretty nice looking tie. Then, we've got one which I think is probably at least 1962, 63. It's something that's rather old for that time period. This is something you wouldn't have probably worn in the office. It's got a fisherman's motif, as you can tell. And this one was by Wembley, and it says to wear with a brown or tan suit. And I did wear this at work once, and it worked quite well with the brown suit.
Hold that one still. I want to
Sure thing.
try and get a close-up of the design there. So looks like you can make out a scallop and a fish and some
fisherman, a couple of flies, fisherman flies.
Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty unique. When I saw this, I picked it up for $2. I said I got to have it. To me, I'm thinking this is probably a transitional tie because the peacock tie that Justin mentioned came out of England in 1965. And I'm thinking that was probably the U.S.'s answer, at least to a different type of pattern scheme, without having to go and go to a wider tie. Now this one is a clip-on tie. I know a lot of people hate clip-on ties, but you know, this was popular at the time. It's a snapper from Beau Brummel, and it is probably 100% polyester. It says snapper. It's a snap to snap on, if you like some type of repetition. But it's a nice tie. I mean, for that time period, it's got a nice color. It's got the crown design like that. So, as far as I know, this type of snap-on tie came out in the late 50s, this particular type. Snap-on ties have been around for many years. Here we have one probably from the early 60s, but it does show some color. It's got some gumption to it, as my mom would say. And this is a rayon acetate blend. but it's quite colorful for the time period. It even has a nice motif, almost like a space age type of motif to it. What do you say, John?
Yeah.
Something like that. And I love this tie. It's got the good combination of silver and black and red. Very nice looking. And again, this tie being early 60s, acetate and rayon, again, we're talking only about probably $3, something like that, most likely. And then some people wonder how thin ties actually did get. Well, they got this thin. How about that? That's about the thinnest tie I have. Not quite. And this was my father's. And it's probably, I'm guessing, 1960, 61, 62. I have one that's even slightly narrower than this. It's actually 1 inch. This is probably 1.25 inches, I'm guessing. But it's if you look at it, John, at close up, actually, I mean, it's got a nice pattern, not a pattern, but a nice, just little minimalist type of almost outer space design to it. Okay? So it's muted, and yet it kind of has a little bit of personality to it. It's not just your kind of Mad Men, crime story kind of, dull black and gray tie. Kind of nice. So, and again, that would be early 60s. Basically, after about 1966, at least in the United States, ties started progressively to get wider. As Justin mentioned, they became crazier, wilder, and they got up to about at least 5.5, if not 6 inches in width. And so, to close, we're going to go ahead and have Justin wrap up for us.
Okay, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Lee. Let's just finish it out. It's probably an 80s tie or some such thing. It's a conservative tie, but the width is returned, and this is a Countess Mara. And all through the ages, Countess Mara was a good example of another woman who designed ties and did an excellent job of doing it. This is a silk example. This is Countess Mara on the back, and slip stitch design. It's lined. This is one of the things that you find in the 80s. The ties were very sedate, and but the width had gone wider, and it was a nice tie. And we got our example there.
What type of length is on that tie? How long would you
This is
estimate?
probably about 60 inches.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nearly as tall as I am long. And then we come to an age before that where things just went kind of crazy. This is a Wembley, and believe it or not, from the Wembley that we showed earlier from the 50s that was thin and didn't have anything to say. Well, this one here has plenty to say. It's not planned. But the knot would be a similar connotation and continuation of the color. However, we find that we have wonderful things that, like Ty says, groove thing.
Let me get a close-up of that.
Definitely 70s tie.
Oh, man.
It's a Wembley. I'm surprised it's not a Wimblon, which is probably part nylon or some such thing. But there we have, and even more funny is the fact that it has a tag here. I don't know if you can see it. It says "Made in the USA from imported fiber." Content on reverse, and you flip it over and it says 100% polyester. We gotten that bad that we had to import polyester.
They're scarce here.
So this is definitely a peacock-looking tie. It's not as wide as some of the ones that could come after it, but it's definitely there. We've got stars, we've got shapes, we've got waves, we've got embossed design. It's all over the place. But some say that tie design died after the 1960s. Well, tie design like this sure did. And thank goodness for it. But that's about the size of our tie seminar, and that's about the scope of what we can cover here. Thank you for paying attention and putting up with us through our ramblings about ties. And our passion just puts forward what we're interested in, and I'm sure both of us have enough ties to stretch quite far.
To hang ourselves.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.